Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadam Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadam Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Jamuna Tira Vana Chari Jamuna Tira Vana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadam Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadam Dhari Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Jamuna Tira Vanantari Jamuna Tira Vanantari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Radha Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jayam Vishupad Paramahamsa Pari Vrajagacha Stotra Satta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Charan Arvind Bhakti Raghava Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Skandiditi Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gold of Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada Ki. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Sarakaya Taksuramiritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanditam Scha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakashana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutidevi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu vyaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayana Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Sri Vyasa, the author. Nasta prayesha badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Sakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantharaj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukam karoti vasaram pagom langayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yat kripa tamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Aravinda? Where is Aravind? On the altar? Can you just put down the fan? Just put it down by 1 or 2 notches. Welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam class, continuing from Canto number 1. Chapter 16, entitled How Parikshit Received the Age of Kali. And we are now yeah, we finished, huh? That long purport? Yeah.
31. Yeah, we finished.
My God.
We finished that.
Oh, we finished, yeah, okay. No, but this is something new. Who put this together?
It was here one time, but he started to use.
Huh?
Today he started to use for the Bhagavatam.
Right, something new.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyways, congratulations, whoever put this together. We hope it will be a daily occurrence. Easy to start something. Okay, text 31. Atmanam na chanushochami bhavantam cha marottamam devam pitrin rishin sadhun sarvan varnams tathashramam atmanam chanushochami bhavantam cha marottamam devan pitrin rishin sadhun sarvan varnam tathashramam atmanam chanushochami
Atmanam chanushocami.
Bhavantam cha marottamam.
Bhavantam cha marottamam.
Devan pitrin rishin sadhun.
Devan pitrin sadhun.
Sarvan varnam stathashraman.
Sarvan varnam tathashraman.
Atmanam chanushocami.
Atmanam chanushocami.
Bhavantam cha marottamam.
Bhavantam cha marottamam.
Devan pitrin rishin sadhun.
Devan pitrin rishin sadhun.
Sarvan varnam stathashraman.
Sarvan varnam tathashraman.
Atmanam chanushocami. Bhavantam cha marottamam. Devan pitrin rishin sadhun. Sarvan varnam stathashraman.
Atmanam chanusocami.
Atmanam chanushocami.
Bhavantam chamarottamam.
Bhavantam cha marottamam.
Devan pitrin rishin sadhun.
Devan pitrin rishin sadhun.
Sarvan varnam tathashraman.
Sarvan varnam stathashraman.
Atmanam chanushocami.
Atmanam chanushocami.
Bhavantam chamarottamam.
Bhavantam cha marottamam.
Devan pitrin rishin sadhu.
Devan pitrin rishin sadhun.
Sarvan varnam tathashraman.
Sarvan varnam stathashraman.
Atmanam chanushocami.
Atmanam chanushocami.
Bhavantam chamarottamam.
Bhavantam cha marottamam.
Devan pitrin rishin sadhu.
Devan pitrin rishin sadhun.
Sarvan varnam tathashraman.
Sarvan varnam stathashraman.
Atmanam chanushocami.
Atmanam chanushocami.
Bhavantam chamarottamam.
Bhavantam cha marottamam.
Devan priti rishim sadhum.
Devan pitrin rishin sadhun.
Sarvan varna tathashraman.
Sarvam varnam tathashraman. Atmanam.
Atmanam.
Myself. As also. As also. Asraman. Orders of human society.
Orders of human society.
Translation and purport. Yes. Then we are not properly understanding, and we're passing all kinds of legislation, which is what is happening all over the world, which are actually going against the principles of dharma. People who are in positions of authority and leadership, because they are lacking in the understanding of these principles of dharma, are misleading, isn't it? Leading people away more and more from even basic practices, which naturally, when this happens, as it is presently the case, unfortunately on a massive scale all over the world, it is completely chaotic, and it should be, it is meant to be. We can use the word unacceptable by those who actually know about dharma. So therefore, that is one of the main reasons why Krishna descends in the material world. Dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge parikranaya sadhanam vinashaya chaduskritam. So dharma samstapanarthaya, unless we understand clearly, nicely, properly about dharma, how we can re-establish dharma. And dharma begins, where does dharma begin? Dharma begins at Mangalarati. Dharma begins at Mangalarati. Yeah, means one who understands that uh, my life has to be auspicious. Then Mangala. Mangala is early in the morning. That's when we can, that's when the atmosphere is favorable for nicely hearing, for nicely understanding. That's before the workers come and start banging and making all kinds of noise and disturbances. Yeah. So the morning time is sattva guna by nature, mode of goodness, and that mode of goodness is the ideal time. That's why we have Bhagavatam class in in the morning like this. So this is a very wonderful purport, as always, given by Srila Prabhupada on the need and the importance to to follow. Uh, um, so, I mean, when we read this kind of text and also purport given by Srila Prabhupada, it becomes like extremely difficult to understand why some people don't give proper importance to Varnashrama, to the system of Varnashrama Dharma. Prabhupada is so clearly explaining here that, you know, a very major statement, an important statement, Varnashrama is that system that elevates one from animal consciousness to human consciousness, and then from human consciousness to godly consciousness. Very nicely presented. And it is true. If we are not knowing about Dharma, which means also Varnashrama Dharma, that's an integral and eternal system. Varnashrama Dharma is an eternal system. Eternal system for those who are in the material world. That is the eternal system to redeem the fallen souls, actually. Of course, in Kali-yuga especially, it is not possible without the chanting of the holy name, without what has been introduced, the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, must be naturally the basis and must be an integral part of the Varnashrama system. Otherwise, it becomes Asurik Varnashrama. Asurik Varnashrama. So that we need to understand nicely how Daiva Varnashrama means that focus on a pure devotional service. We're not just interested, just like Prabhupada one time, he mentioned, we're not just interested in people, in making people vegetarian. The monkeys are already vegetarian. No big deal. So our interest is not simply to become farmers or to become vegetarian. Our goal is to become Krishna conscious by following these more uh, natural ways of living and of eating, etc. It's amazing actually, because in the Western countries, when we start to explain to people about, you know, there are regulations, there are certain systems in terms of marriage, in terms of eating, in terms of, you know, relationships. There are regulations. Beginning with, we were speaking just yesterday or the day before about Rabadana Samskara. You try to explain that to somebody who has no understanding whatsoever of the Vedic culture, he's just going to laugh at you.
Maharaj, but I observed in Israel, especially the Israeli people and other, I was reading like how they are doing this.
be careful now.
So, like what our shastras prescribe that when the babies in the stomach they do learn things, they also understand, but of course they don't have the Vedic bhakti aspect.
Okay, yeah.
So what they are doing actually is the mother is not able to understand any of the science fiction books, nothing of sort. They just pick up these science, whatever they have written, the materialistic knowledge. They just read chemistry, biology, math. I mean, they just keep reading the women without the even the subject knowledge. And when the baby is out, the baby already knows to an extent that what the mother was reading. Means they have a version of a samskara, but not the perfect one which is coming from the shastras.
Right. Another example also, they have made experiments, I'm sure you've read
Yes.
or heard,
Yes.
that if you play, if you play rock and roll music as opposed to classical music, then the child, you can see the difference
Yes.
in the child. Yeah, well, that's what happens when one doesn't follow the proper system that is coming in parampara. When one speculates, something he might get right, but most of it is wrong actually. And it's changing all the time. So people just don't know. I mean, people from the West, especially, and I can vouch for that. I mean, we totally ignorant about all of these subject matters. Totally ignorant about dharma, and therefore totally on the animalistic level of consciousness. Yes.
The previous purport of Srila Prabhupada, there was a nice part about the knowledge,
Knowledge,
which is
breaks down.
which is 5 branches. He called it branches, I think.
Yeah, divisions.
Something like that.
5 divisions, whatever.
Yeah.
Subdivisions.
5 subheadings.
Subheadings.
Branch
Yes.
headings.
Yeah.
It's very important. We didn't discuss about that.
Yes.
But now you see that if you see people, some have intelligence, but these intelligence are divided. You can recognize they have informational intelligence, and most of the persons have only that. And then they have no intelligence for gratefulness. They don't appreciate someone who have bigger knowledge, who want to teach them. They don't appreciate. That means their intelligence is very limited. So if you want to help them, you have to consider what kind of intelligence the persons have you will deal with. And that's why Harinam Sankirtan will help a lot to develop this understanding for devotees who want to become maybe the next leaders or next helper. Because they will understand people have different intelligence. They will learn that after a few years of Sankirtan, you want to give books for people, you will see how they react to the Harinam Sankirtan. You start to understand. You will understand them. They have this different intelligence. So educate them. We have to consider what kind of intelligence they have by the previous infection, by the previous, maybe previous life, maybe previous good fortune, good association, and then you have to build or practical teachings, practical education according to that time circumstances. At
That's
least
called
our teachers have to know that
purified intelligence.
Yeah.
Purified, not just ordinary intelligence. Purified intelligence, purified knowledge. Yes.
Let me complete. I had another question.
Okay. Well, I'm. Go ahead. Yeah.
Maharaj, whenever there is a description of Varnashram, many entities are mentioned, like in this particular verse, cooperation between sages,
demigods,
demigods, and denizens of Pitri Loka. Pitris always come. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, one of the reasons why he was didn't want to fight was that then women are left unprotected, every Varna Shankara, and then family tradition will stop, and oblations to Pitris won't be offered.
Yes.
So there's enough information about the obligations to the Pitris in terms of offering Shraddha and oblations, but when we talk about cooperation, it's a mutual give and take. So at least I do not have much detailed understanding of the benedictions that we receive from Pitris.
Right.
They say that if a devotee appears in the family, the Pitris are happy. Now this person will deliver all the generations.
Okay.
But then what are the benefits? Like demigods, we understand when we do sacrifices, the demigods offer rain, wind, sunlight.
Right.
This is a mutual cooperation, which Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita Krishna
So
explains.
what are we getting from the Pitri
Yeah, but
Loka?
what are we getting from Pitris?
Yeah.
Bharat, with this same question, I had one attached question. Now that most of our devotees adding to this point, that they have an understanding that, especially in the part of our culture, we have this Pinda Pradhan.
Yes.
Once the parents, the deceased happens, and especially the male child, females have nothing to do with this, but the males have this thing that we have to do compulsion in of Pinda Pradhan. And somewhere I see in ISKCON they say, okay, you just chant, all these things are not required, or some people are following, some people are not following. And even the brahmacharis, like let us say after years they pass away, then for them what is the Pinda Pradhan?
This is Vaishnava Shraddha. So Bhakti Saraswati Thakur explains Vaishnava Shraddha.
Yeah.
So this is also connected to this question, so if you can shed some light.
Well, in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, when Narada Muni presents his whole dissertation on Varnashrama Dharma, his thesis, in 5 chapters, he very clearly speaks about Shraddha. And it means that even as Vaishnavas, we also perform Shraddha. Isn't it? And he points out actually what are the 2 most important activities in Shraddha. One is the chanting of the holy name, and the other one is offering of Krishna Prasadam. Yeah. So there is sometimes, that tendency amongst devotees to kind of minimize the importance of some of these activities, but we have to follow what is there in the Shastra, and our Vaishnavacharyas, the Goswamis, they have simplified actually, they have made it more simple, that these practices are important and we need to follow them. Because ultimately, Vaishnavas are, I think just yesterday, the day before, we were reading how Vaishnava is meant to be intolerable at seeing the suffering of others. Intolerable at seeing the pain and suffering of others. So those who have left, family members and others, we don't know their condition, and therefore, out of compassion, we understand that we can still continue to help them by offering this yearly ceremony. And now what Pitris will, because coming back to your question, I've not read on that so much, so I don't know if somebody has some information about how they're meant to reciprocate with. We can understand that, for example, in our daily lives, when we do something for someone, then he becomes automatically favorably inclined to us, and there's different ways in terms of reciprocation or help, that can be either physically, or that can be emotionally, that can be spiritually as well. I mean, prayers, for example, are very powerful. It's one of the angas in terms of devotional service, offering prayers. So there must be some kind of reciprocation, but I've not read, so I cannot say exactly.
I know the negative example of it, because I know people whose astrological charts clearly say they're Pitri dosa, meaning their Pitris are not happy. And that's why, there may be some kind of defect they have in this present life.
Okay.
So when they are not happy, we know that the negative is true. But I don't know much about the positive part of it.
Yeah.
Maharaj, I have a question, Maharaj. In terms of the current day scenarios, I somewhere feel even I don't have the perfect understanding of the Purushartha. This is the Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, like the purpose after we come and attach to the Varnashrama, etc. If you can shed some light on the Purushartha, especially for a Stree and the Purusha, it will be helpful.
I'm not sure I fully understand the question.
Purushartha, like Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, like the purpose of life in terms of.
Well, in the Bhagavatam, there's reference very often, actually, to Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, and sometimes it is, we could say, played down, because there's two levels. I would say there's two meanings or two understanding, two levels of understanding. I mean, obviously, Dharma is rejected in the second verse of the Bhagavatam. Dharma projita kaitapatra. Dharma, so materially motivated, Dharma is rejected. Krishna says the same thing. Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam saranam praja. Yeah, any materially motivated or tinged type of dharma or dharmic activities is rejected. But dharma, savai pumsam paro dharma, the param dharma is not rejected. Rather, we are aiming for that. So, artha per se is not something bad, but generally artha for people means, making money for the purpose of sense gratification. Even kama, there's that verse in the Bhagavatam, sarva kama dugamahi. So kama can mean, generally has that meaning, sense gratification, which means generally exploiting others for, my personal, individual satisfaction. But kama also refers to, in that particular verse, sarva kama means necessities of life. We all have basic necessities of life because we have this material body. Every day we have to eat something. But we don't eat like animals anytime, anything and everything. Like hogs, they have no restriction in not only eating, but all kinds of activities. So these principles are of Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha are are an integral part of Vedic culture. But when we look in terms of the highest level of spiritual development or emancipation, then these activities are minimized because, especially, again, liberation for most people means liberation from, it's not connected with bhakti for most people. Mukti. Mukti generally means, is especially in the context of how Mayavadis or impersonalists understand liberation. But Srila Rupa Goswami explained that for a devotee, liberation is very secondary. Because bhakti is way beyond liberation. So we need to understand those in the proper context, and we should not reject, because they are very much an integral part, but they tend to be maybe misused or not properly understood. Yeah. Yes.
In the Mahabharata, there are some sections which shows that the inhabitants of the earth, like sons, if they are highly elevated in consciousness, they can visit like Prithuloko or Devaloko, and they can have meetings with their forefathers. And then the forefathers explain to them that what kind of benediction they give to the family members if they are properly worshipping them by these doing Pinda and Shraddha ceremonies. So from Mahabharata we can read some sections which give informations, authorized informations. Other Vedic scriptures also give, but it's more difficult to find nowadays. So I would suggest they have a power because they live pious life. They are not punished. They have some kind of subtle enjoyment like the demigods, but they depend on the family members. If the family member doesn't respect them, doesn't offer them pinda or shraddha ceremony regularly, all their life should spend like remembering them and offering them some kind of obligations, then they keep that kind of high position in the subtle realm like demigods also. But if the family members neglect them, they become like Yamadutas. That's also in that part we can read that Yamadutas are the inhabitants of Prithiloka, but they are forgotten by their family members and they become very angry and they come to punish.
The Yamadutas are inhabitants of Pitriloka?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, because
Yamaraj is
Yamaraj
the chief
servant.
among the Pitris,
Yeah.
but Yamadutas are not residents of Pitri Loka.
Yeah,
That's
they
the
are.
difference.
I'm sure I can show you where I found it.
no.
It was a long time ago. But we studied a little bit this part. Yeah, Yamadutas are there. Pitaloka is not just one place. Pitaloka is divided between the pious place, which is one quarter, and the third quarter, which is the impious place. And the Yamadutas have to leave the pious place after they are neglected by the family members, and they become, and the Yamaraj offering them one service. Okay, you are neglected, want to serve me, want to punish them?
You know, there's, I read, I think it's in the Tattva Sandarbha, where Srila Jiva Goswami mentions about here on planet Earth, we have the 12 cantos of the Bhagavatam, and Srila Vyasadeva has given that to us. But there is recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, more cantos, in Pitriloka, and I think in Svargaloka. And there are, he gives the name. Who is it? I think Shukadeva Goswami. There are, I forget, two very prominent personalities, I mean Vaishnavas, who are reciting other cantos.
Yeah, Shukadeva Goswami.
Shukadeva,
The demigods.
he's in Pitriloka, or the one is in the in
Depends
Svargaloka. You can find it out. And I forget who the other one is.
Aryama. Among Pitris, I am Aryama.
It's in the beginning. Actually, very interesting when I read that, and how it's like we have only 16,000 verses, right? Bhagavatam. Huh? 18,000. I'm sorry. Yeah, 18,000 verses. But there are Bhagavatams with 100,000 verses. He mentions actually, Srila Jiva Goswami mentions, I think 100,000 or 1 million verses, something like that. Bhagavatam. So there are more cantos to come.
Krishna Guru Maharaj. I don't know about the another context, but I know about the Pitras in Kshatriya context. My Shiksha Gurus tell about them. If our Pitras are in Naraka,
In Dwarka.
Naraka Loka,
Okay.
and if we do not get to, if our generation, our lineage, do not do the Sraddha
Right.
for 1,000 years, then they will become the Yamna Dut.
Then they will become.
And if the Kshatriyas, I don't know about the another context, but I know about the Kshatriya context. If the Kshatriyas Pitra is happy, then their child, they give the powers to the child to become fearlessness, and they give them,
Okay.
and
Right,
they
right.
give them fearlessness, power, this type of.
So that they become Yamadutas, it applies in the way that, like Arjuna said in Bhagavad Gita, when the oblations are stopped, they fall from the Pitri Loka to hellish planets. And when somebody resides in a hellish planet for a very, very long time, then they are trained as Yamadutas to do that service because they have so much already experience with the
Associations.
Maharaj, I have one more question, Maharaj.
Yeah.
When it is coming to, I am assuming that whatever Prabhupada did was due to the emergencies that Prabhupada, because there were no qualified, or I don't know the situation at that time during Prabhupada. Prabhupada gave a lot of people sannyas diksha.
Yes.
And I mean, I know very little basics of astrology, which says that if there is sannyas, already in the Kundali it is mentioned when sannyas yoga is there. Now, I was seeing how the sannyas part happens in the Madhva Sampradaya. So there they have this version that, I mean, they are, at least in their congregation, they are looking, as soon as the child is born, they are seeing the chart and searching for the sannyas yoga, which baby has this sannyas yoga. And as soon as they see that baby at the age of 5, he's already given sannyas.
Correct.
But for the other people who don't have this in their chart of the sannyas yoga, they make them go through of this brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, and finally when he has come to attain, like he has practiced 20-25 years under a guru, then he enters the grahastha ashrama, then he goes through all these things, then he takes up the end, like the sannyasatva, and provided again the guru has
Yes.
it.
Yes.
So
the question is.
So the question is here. I mean, we are seeing in ISKCON. I mean, 2-3 parts are there. The one part is like we are seeing here. A lot of people are just taking just the brahmachari part, and their lineages are not continuing. And also, if their yoga in their chart is not there, and these people are like if grahastha yoga is there and forcefully they are wearing saffron and they're just dedicating their lives. I don't know to whatever extent. So how does this actually work when the astrological chart also is not supporting that thing? And if we can also bring that, like how the madhas are taking at the age of 5 they're giving sannyasis, and
Yes.
then they're preparing them for the rest of their lives.
Yes. Yes.
Because now the recent one also, I think the age of 5 they gave the child sannyas.
Okay.
And the grahasthas also considered it as a very great blessing that in their house this combination is
Yeah,
born.
of course. Well, we should understand, and Prabhupada explains at different times also, that in emergency situations, you have to do things which normally one would not do. So we are definitely, the whole world is in a state of crisis. And there was, and there still is actually, very difficult situation whereby, especially in the early beginnings of the movement, Prabhupada introduced and did things which were, we could say, not traditional per se. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada gave instructions that we need to introduce what is standard, what is traditional, and specifically in the context of Varnashrama Dharma, specifically in the context of Gurukula and Varnashrama college, and therefore we can expect that as we introduce and implement these practices, which are all there in the Shastra, then one fine day down the line, within ISKCON, we'll have a five-year-old sannyasi. But we're not quite there. So, Kaladesha Patra is a very important. Srila Prabhupada was very expert in properly utilizing this principle of time, place, and circumstance. And that does not, of course, negate the need and the necessity to introduce, and as soon as possible, what is more traditional, what is more, based on what is there in the Shastra. And of course, because this was an emergency and many people did receive both Brahminical, Brahmana initiation and sannyas initiation, naturally it was to be expected that many of them could not uphold and fell down. So until and unless we introduce more of what is, because the whole system of Varna and Ashrama is meant to actually properly prepare and therefore protect, give more protection to those who take up different roles and possibilities within the system of Varna and Ashrama. then we can expect that there will be these kind of irregularities. So the more, in other words, the more we want to minimize, the way to minimize more these different fall downs, etc., is to actually become more situated, more in line with what is recommended in the Shastra. So we were talking about the need for householders to follow Garbhanana Samskara, for example, which will favor and facilitate that, more elevated souls will take birth in the movement, which means we'll have more qualified devotees to take on different responsibilities, etc., etc. So that takes some time, but we need to work on that, and a great portion of that, I mean, is directly connected with introducing these educational systems that Prabhupada spoke about in terms of Gurukula and Varnashrama college. That's why this building is here. Yes.
Sandarbha is given as a citation of Padma Purana, along with sages like Narada and others who engage in hearing and narrating the Bhagavatam. This literature descends from their respective realms into Loka. It comes from different realms.
Different realms, yes. Narada is one of them, right?
I'll just read it.
Yeah.
Satya-yuga, Lord Brahma, Sanak Sanandan, and great sages. They recite, and Brahma recites and other listening. Tapaloka, Narad Muni, Shukadeva Goswami, Brihaspati, and other.
Where are they?
Tapaloka.
Satyaloka. Narada.
In Maharloka, highly advanced souls, those who have elevated. Swargaloka, Indra, demigods, they, Ashwini Kumar, they listen to. Then Vaikuntha Yoga, liberated devotees, they are just.
In which? Vaikuntha. Okay.
And Golok Vrindavan, Krishna's pastimes themselves are living in.
Interesting.
And the fifth canto gives this orders.
Yeah.
Geological.
You can say,
This was mentioned in Tattva Sandarbha as Maharaj.
yeah, that's in the Satsandarbha?
Tattva Sandarbha.
Tattva Sandarbha, yeah.
But in Tattva Sandarbha, the recitation is taken from Padma Purana.
You can send me that reference. Okay? I mean, you have it, right? Yeah. Okay, interesting. Okay. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Gaur Premanand.